Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Doesn't matter. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you very much for coming today.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming. This beautiful
Problem होता है तो
of our Amish Prabhu.
क्या हो गया इससे?
We have beautiful altar of
जानना नहीं
Prabhupada.
मला इथे मध्ये येते.
And I see that most of us already know Chaitanya, but I can see few faces. So very quickly, I would like to introduce Prabhuji, and also my own presentation also. I would like to glorify and introduce Prabhuji. So, Chaitanya Prabhuji is practicing Krishna Bhakti and serving within ISKCON from last over 30 years. And all over the world, he travels probably every major city in the world, all 7 continents, 400 classes in a year, even more than that, 30 books, 6,000 articles. You know, it's difficult to imagine. So, if all of us can start reading just one article a day, probably it will take 20 years to finish those articles have already been written. So, and Prabhuji has very, very in-depth understanding about philosophy, about our Shastra. So, we are so very fortunate to have Prabhuji's association. And yesterday there was a one class, and this is the class, and today evening again we are going to have the last class. So we'll continue the topic which we started yesterday. Probably Prabhuji will quickly recap what we discussed yesterday, and then we'll continue from there. All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Do we have a copy of that book, prayer book?
Yes, Prabhu.
We have, we can just distribute that. ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने. नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. My dear Lord, please guide us all so that we can understand your will and your wisdom and align our heart and life accordingly. Hare Krishna. Okay, unfortunately, I cannot show it because I don't have that in this laptop. I can get it there. Anyway, so how many copies do we have? Very few? Okay. So can 2-3 of you share a copy? You have got any copies here? Okay. So we can go to the yesterday where it says 1 point. Let's go to the page 20. I think it's 22 in the book, 1.14 verse. Let me remember. Now I have dig out my water. Is it page 1 point? So 1.14. So anyway, Tatah okay. How can I get it here quickly? Thought. So we are discussing on the topic of balancing material and spiritual life. Thank you for coming today. And how many of you were there yesterday? Okay. How many of you were not there yesterday? Okay, thank you. How many of you are not there today? Thank you. At least the laughter indicates you are there. So we've been discussing this topic of how to balance material and spiritual life. And we're discussing based on the certain verses on the Bhagavad Gita and certain themes. So we often feel pulled in multiple directions in our life. And yesterday I discussed two main points. One is that it is not so much that, sorry? Yeah, tell me. Yeah. So we talked about the challenge of balance is there. There are three kinds of problems we get. What is I? Inevitable. So certain problems are always going to be there. So for example, the challenge of balancing life is not just for devotees. For everybody, there's so many things to do in life. We talked about the point of time poverty. Everybody faces this problem. There are some problems that are avoidable. So by choosing not to act in certain ways, we can avoid problems. So for example, if somebody gets addicted and they suffer health-wise, finance-wise, those kind of problems can be avoided. And third is strengthening. So these are the problems that, rather these are activities that we do because they will strengthen us, even if there are some problems involved in these activities. So we discussed yesterday about one aspect of avoidable was that sometimes when we are dealing with others, so when we talked about this, Krishna is above us, and then we are here, and our family is here. And sometimes we push others to practice bhakti too much. So it's our relationship with Krishna, our relationship with them, and their relationship with Krishna. So we push them too much to do something, that creates a strain in our relationship, and that creates a disturbance of mind which disturbs in our bhakti also. So we talked about focus on our bhakti, then focus on our family relationship and their relationship with Krishna, leave it to them. That is our Sharanagati. So this is how we can, avoidable problems we can learn to avoid. Now there are certain problems that are inevitable, which we will try to minimize. And the strengthening problems, we actually embrace them. So yesterday we talked about, I was talking about three main themes. I talked about yesterday about the theme of problems, why the problems arise and what we can do about the problems. Today I'm going to talk about the idea of purpose. What is the purpose of life and how do we pursue that purpose? And finally, today evening session with that, we'll talk about the process. How do we go about balancing, and when does something we decide this is just not possible to balance? I have to make a choice only now. So there are times when these two things may just be pulling us so much in opposite directions that we just can't balance. So then we will discuss that part today evening. But today we'll focus on purpose. Yesterday I also discussed one more thing, that how when we go to the spiritual, when you want to go to spiritual, we are here in the material world. It is not that we directly leave the material and go to the spiritual. This is extremely rare. For most people, they go through the world to the spiritual. So we discuss how through the material to the spiritual. So let's read this. Those of you who have access to it. Maybe for a minute or two I could just take this out and put it over here. Let's see if it works. Okay, I won't risk it. Those of you who have the book, you can repeat after me. My dear Lord, let me remember that my life story is a part of your story. So we discuss one key theme, that we shouldn't think that it is we who are alone struggling all over. trying to balance things in life. It's Krishna is there, and Krishna has a plan for our life, and we are a part of his plan. So the verse here is Tatah Shvetair Hayair Yukte Mahati Syandane Sthitau Madhava Pandavaschaiva Divyau Shankau Pradadmatuhu. Then Krishna and Arjuna, standing tall, on their chariot, white steeds and all, blew their conches loud and bright, a sound that shook the field with might. So here, Krishna is speaking. Now, would anyone like to read this? What you have? Let me see if I can get it over here. Yeah. First paragraph, would anyone like to read?
My dear Lord, you are always with me in the chariot of this body, just as you were with Arjuna on the battlefield.
Yes. So, Krishna is always there with us. No, it's not that when we are struggling in life, we are all alone and we are fighting. The conception not God is somewhere up there and we are here trying to face life on our own. So when we talk about the purpose of life, today I'll talk about two main concepts, Artha and Dharma. So let's start. What do you think does the word Artha mean? Artha? अर्थ के अनेक अर्थ है. ओके. तो अर्थ का एक अर्थ है वेल्थ, पैसा. What else? Meaning. I gave that away actually. So meaning. Anything else? Purpose. Where does the word purpose come? Like we have the four purusharthas. So purusharthas, which are the four purusharthas? Dharma, artha, kama and moksha. So that is these are the four purposes of life, you could say broadly. Now, the word artha, if you use the word anartha, so it also means value, something which has no value, anartha. So the word artha has many different meanings. And if you see, the idea is, yesterday we talked about how to function in life. We go through the world to Krishna. So there are these four purusharthas. Now dharma, I'll try to focus on understanding these. So we can see this like a ladder approach. Dharma leads to artha. Now artha leads to kama. Now does kama itself lead to moksha? Well, these are the four purusharthas. But we will look at how this actually works. But let's try to understand this concept. See, the word dharma itself has many different meanings, and these can be analyzed in many different ways. But I'll analyze in one particular way, which will help us to see how all this relates with our life. So, in general, the word dharma, it has many meanings. One meaning that is especially related with artha is that dharma is harmonious belonging. That wherever we are, we belong harmoniously to it. So what does this mean? Say for example, right now you have come for this talk. So you are belonging to a larger whole. You are here. Now you are giving your attention here. Whenever we belong to a larger whole, we do something for that larger whole. We contribute to the larger whole. And then that larger whole gives us something back in return. So that is how we always function. So dharma is basically harmonious belonging. That when we are a part of a larger whole, Arjuna asks Krishna, Pruchhami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha. Please tell me what is the right thing to do. So this is 2.7 in the Gita. But the right thing cannot be seen in isolation. That we need to do the right thing, but when we do the right thing, whatever larger whole we are belonging to should also do the right thing for us. Isn't it? Say if we work in a company and we do the right thing in terms of go arrive on time, do our job, but at the end the company doesn't pay only. Like sometimes there is fraudulent colleges or fraudulent companies. You work but they don't pay. That's not going to work. So sometimes so dharma has the individual aspect where the individual has to do the right thing. But dharma also has the collective aspect. So when Krishna says dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge, I come to establish dharma. So that is, he's talking about the collective order. That society itself has gone off track and society has to be brought right on track again. So for example, we are sitting for the class now. Now there is an individual and collective contribution. The individual is say you pay attention. You are here and you pay attention. The collective is say here in this case I am giving this class. So I should be teaching something of use. I should be well prepared. I should be organized. And then I should be presenting whatever it is in a way that is of some utility to you, some relevance to you. So when there is harmonious balance, then dharma leads to something of value being created, something being produced. So now if say you are inattentive, then you may not get anything of value. If you are attentive, but I am rambling, I am disorganized, you come here for a spiritual talk and I go on a political rant against a particular party or something like that, then again it will not benefit you. Isn't it? So dharma means there is a harmonious belonging. The individual contributes and the collective contributes. And when both contribute together, that leads to artha. Artha can refer to wealth, but artha can refer to resources, artha can refer to value. Something of value results when dharma is performed properly. So whichever larger unit we belong to, we need to belong harmoniously so that something of value is created. So here what are we talking about is, yesterday I talked about avoidable problems we need to avoid in life. But inevitably there are certain problems which are strengthening problems. That means there's a difficulty, but when we go through that difficulty, we actually improve. We become stronger. Our capacity to deal with challenges becomes improved. So dharma leads to artha. Artha means something of value is created. So at a very simple level, it could mean that if there is a hotel and then in the hotel, the dharma of the cook, the waiter, the manager, it is that food is produced promptly in good quality, and when they do their part, then the customer comes over there, the customer gets the food and the customer pays the money. Now then when there is harmonious balance, then what happens? Okay, you produce something of artha, that the customer got good tasty food to eat, tasty, healthy, whatever food they wanted, and the employees got some earning from it. So dharma means harmonious belonging. Whichever larger unit we are a part of, we need to belong harmoniously to that so that artha is produced. In general, dharma leads to artha. Now once the resources are produced, after that we can fulfill our desires. Somebody has money. Now somebody learns something. Say if parents send a child to a music school. Now the dharma of the child is to go and learn over there. The dharma of the music school is to actually teach properly. And then when the child learns the skill, the child comes and maybe performs before the parents, or there is some party, there is some event, that they perform, and then everybody applauds and everybody is happy. That the desire that we learn something, the desire, kama, is fulfilled. So dharma leads to artha, artha leads to kama. Kama can refer narrowly to sexual desire, but kama can refer generically to desire in general. So when is desire fulfilled? See, it is not just fulfillment of desire. It is fulfillment of desire in a way that brings some joy to the heart. Somebody may perform. Dharma is they learn music properly. The dharma is they go to a music school, they learn properly. Artha is they learn the skill. And kama is maybe there's a music competition and they win the prize in that competition. So dharma, artha, kama. Kama is okay, I want to excel in this competition, excel in the competition. So this is the harmonious way cycle progresses. Dharma leads to artha, artha leads to kama. Now, when we are going through this process, there are many larger wholes that we are a part of. And everybody needs to belong to the larger whole properly. Now, how many of you know well the person sitting next to you right now? Okay, most of you know. Okay, how many of you don't know the person sitting next to you? Okay. Those of you who don't know the person sitting next to you, are you confident that the person sitting next to you is not going to suddenly turn on you and punch you in the face? They don't get any ideas. Now, is that possible? You could say anything is possible, isn't it? But it is highly improbable, isn't it? If somebody has come for a spiritual talk like that, like this, then we can reasonably infer that person will have basic impulse control, basic sense of time, place, circumstance, basic discipline will be there. So in one sense, we all implicitly understand how to belong to a larger unit. Now say today you came for this talk. If you, at the end of talk, you feel that, okay, I didn't learn anything of value, it's not of interest to me. Then you may decide, I won't come for the next talk. And that's fair enough. So if we belong to a larger whole, we need to belong properly. And if you belong properly, there is some artha that comes from it. So dharma leads to artha. Now, why are we talking about this with respect to balance? The challenge is that we all belong to many larger wholes in our life. So I'll talk about it from a simple perspective, then I'll move to a greater perspective. That sometimes dharma is translated as duty. And it is true, it is duty. But duty is an oversimplification. Dharma is more that activity that leads to harmony. So, parents have a duty to their child. The child has a duty to the parents. And when parents do their duty to the child, and the child does duty to the parents, then what happens is that a well-trained, well-behaved, responsible citizen, human being grows and can take on the responsibilities in the world, can move ahead in life. So that way, dharma can be translated as duty, but it is not. Sometimes the word of duty has a sense of burden to it. You have to do it. But dharma is it's harmonious belonging. So whichever larger unit we are a part of, if we drive on the road, then we belong to the larger road transport system. And the dharma is we need to follow the rules of traffic. So that is our dharma. But then what happens is that there is the collective dharma. That somebody who is following the traffic rules should not be pulled over by the police. Maybe the police or the ruling authorities have an agenda against some people. Maybe they are racist. And they pull over people from one community more than others. Then that's a problem. So, when we are talking about I'm moving toward the topic of imbalance. But, so dharma, Krishna uses the word dharmasya glani. That dharma can go down. Now, dharma can go down both ways. That is, the individual may not do their duty, or the collective may not do their duty. It could be at an individual level. Dharmasya glani can happen means people are not following the traffic rules. That can lead to chaos. But it can also happen at a collective level. At a collective level is that the police is randomly pulling over people and fining people. Or not randomly, it might be arbitrary, it might be intentionally, but unlawfully. They're targeting some people. So when dharmasya glani happens, it leads to disorder. And the idea over here is that each one of us, whatever larger whole we are a part of, we need to be a part of that whole properly. Now, what does the artha, when I say dharma leads to artha, so what does artha do? Artha gives us two things. Some resources, artha refers to resource. Now, that resource can enable us to avoid pain, and it can help us to attain some pleasure. So kama is not just enjoyment. Kama sometimes means, okay, I want to avoid suffering. I want to avoid pain. That is also a goal we have. Say for example, if we go to a hospital. In the hospital, the doctor is supposed to be competent, the doctor gives a treatment, and then we get cured of whatever disease we have. So life in this world is difficult. There are real challenges in the world, and real skills are required for dealing with the challenges. So artha is, both of these are kama. Artha leads to kama. Now, when we talk about balancing in life, we have many different challenges. Health challenges, financial challenges, relational challenges, environmental challenges, political challenges. There could be so many different challenges in life which come up. And we need to deal with them. How do we deal with them? This process of dharma, artha, kama. Now, let's take some examples to illustrate this point now. That there is a hierarchy of arthas. There are many arthas in life. So for a child, when the newborn child is there, so the newborn child may not even be aware that there is a mother over here. The soft substances comes when I put my mouth over here, and it's so nice. That's all the child understands. But as the infant grows, then starts understanding, okay, this is a person, this person loves me. This person actually is there for me. I can count on this person. Then what happens is, and the child is, okay, this is my mother, this is my father. Then it's, okay, these are my siblings, these are my friends, these are my toys. So our sense of what is of value varies. So when a newborn baby is there, for the newborn baby the dharma is, okay, when my mouth is put over there, I need to suckle. And then what happens is, I get something tasty, I feel good by that. Then as the child grows, child learns to play. Now while playing, everybody wants to win while playing. But then if a kid is disagreeable, if you loses and the child throws a tantrum, then what will happen is, I wanted to win, I didn't win. So they throw the tantrum. But if this kid throws the tantrum, then what will happen is, other kids may not want to play with that child. Isn't it? That dharma is harmonious belonging. So as parents, we need to train our children that, yes, even if you lose, you shake hands with the other person. Congratulate the other person. This is a proper way to belong. So whichever larger whole we are a part of, dharma means we need to learn to belong to that larger whole. And then what happens through that dharma? We can play together, we can have a good time, we develop friendship. So the concept of what is artha, that can vary from person to person as they grow up. For a small child, toys are important. As we grow older, maybe that kind of toys changes. Maybe there are corporate board games are there which people play. But it's much more serious. But anywhere we go, this principle of dharma leads to artha, leads to kama is universal. If we go to college, if we go to a company, we belong to that company. If we belong properly, then we get a salary. With the salary, we can fulfill our desires, whatever they may be. Dharma, artha, kama. So now with this understanding that there are many arthas, and the Gita says ultimately there is a paramartha. Paramartha is what? The supreme value. That there are many arthas, but there is a paramartha. And ultimately, any artha that is fulfilled, it gives us some joy. The paramartha, when it is fulfilled, it gives us the supreme joy. But the Paramartha is not just the supreme Artha. The Paramartha is the topmost Artha, but additionally, actually Paramartha sustains all other Artha. Sustains all other Artha. What does that mean? That everything else gets its value from Krishna. Say for example, a mother is feeding her newborn baby with her breast milk. That is certainly the mother's love for the baby. At the same time, is it only the mother's love? The mother did not do anything specific or special to manufacture milk in her breasts when the baby was born. The same God who sent a child through her womb into the world has also sent milk for that child through the mother's breast. So, the mother is doing her dharma by taking care of the child, but it is also Krishna who is sustaining that dharma. That Krishna, tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yagye pratishthritam, Krishna says. That it is Krishna who is sustaining that dharma. So, all these larger wholes are there which you are a part of. They are ultimately sustained by Krishna. So it's like each one of us belongs to many wholes. Say we belong to a family, we belong to a community, we belong to a company, we belong to a country. Like that we can belong to many larger wholes, and all these larger wholes, the largest whole we belong to, that is Krishna. And Krishna is not just the largest whole, Krishna is also the whole that sustains all other wholes. It is through Krishna that, say, the nation is sustained. Nation has certain resources, nation has certain economy. Those are gifts of God by which that nation is sustained. So America is considered to be a geographically very blessed country. Why? Why? Because it is very safe basically. It's protected by oceans from both sides. Now of course illegal immigration is happening from various parts, from southern mostly. But otherwise it's very difficult for any country to attack. Now India is among the most geographically challenged countries. Because while there is the Himalayan, but there is the Khyber Pass and there are so many places where people can invade. And even the coast, we have the ocean, but there are so many land masses close to the ocean. So there can attacks possible from both ways. So each place has certain strength, but India also has a lot of natural resources. Each place has certain things by which it can sustain itself. So there is harmonious belonging. So Indian citizens need to tap Indian resources. American citizens tap the American resources. So the individual and the collective. The individual has to do their part, the collective does their part. And then by that some artha is created. So now when this happens, this is how the balance is what? Whatever larger whole we are a part of, we belong to it properly. However, there's a problem that can happen. Sometimes an artha can become the paramartha. There is one artha, something of value. Now when an artha becomes the paramartha, that leads to anartha. If you forget everything from this session, this one point. When artha becomes paramartha, it leads to what? Anartha. Now what do you mean by that? Let's take a simple example. Say, everybody needs money. But if money becomes the paramartha, the soul and the supreme purpose of life, then that will lead to the anartha. Which anartha? Greed, isn't it? And when there is greed, that greed can cause chaos. Sometimes a person who is extremely greedy, they may just backstab against their friends, backstab their colleagues, backstab their even relatives. And that person may have a huge mansion to live in. But what will happen is, in that mansion, they will only have a lot of space in which to feel lonely and unhappy. So any artha, when it becomes the paramartha, say doctors want to earn money. Everybody wants to earn money. But if money becomes the sole purpose, when a doctor is seeing a patient, the doctor doesn't see a patient, doctor sees only a money providing machine over there. then what will happen is the doctors may unnecessarily complicate disease, complicate the treatment, prescribe extra things, and prolong everything. And then what will happen by that? There will be big problems in society. So when any artha becomes the paramartha, that leads to anartha. That when, say for example, the male-female attraction is a natural principle in the world. And it is through that attraction that ultimately progeny occurs and then human species continues. But when that artha becomes the paramartha, that in a person seeks only pleasure through that interaction, then that can lead to chaos. That can lead to all kind of immorality, even perversity, violence. So when the artha becomes the paramartha, when say the male-female attraction, that becomes the sole purpose of a person's life, then that is what leads to kama, kamesha, krodesha, Krishna says. So now we all, to a certain extent, need control over our life, our situations. If we have our home, in our home we want to have things clean and tidy. If you're sitting and if you're having this session, if you are interested, then you would like to have a certain level of quietness over here, so that you can focus and understand. So we all need a certain level of control in our life. But when control becomes the most important thing for us, then we may overreact and react even violently towards anyone who disrupts the control. And then that will lead to the anartha of anger. So control is important, but when control becomes the most important thing, that leads to the anartha of anger. So anywhere, when we talk about balance in our life, as I said, control is important. But say for example, if I am sitting in this talk, and we are hearing, and I say there's a small baby, the baby starts crying. Now that is something which can be a little distracting. But we all understand babies cry. The mother, the father, parents will pacify the baby. And it gets resolved. But say if the baby is crying, and what happens is, the parents do nothing about it. Now, then what happens? Then everybody gets disturbed by it. So I talk about dharma. The individual has to belong properly. The collective has to act properly. So now, when say if the speaker is there, say if a baby is crying, and say if I get, and I would like to speak, and I would like to speak in a way that others can understand. But if I yell at the baby or yell at the parents, and I just go on a tirade, what will happen? At the end of the class, the whole audience will forget everything that I spoke. They'll only remember that I yelled at them. Isn't it? So what will happen is, yes, control is required, but if control becomes the only thing that I seek, then what will happen is that leads to the anartha of anger. So artha is important, but when any artha becomes the paramartha, that leads to anartha. Now anartha has two distinct meanings. One is that there is inner impurity that results. That internally, like anger comes up. And there is, often this leads to outer adversity. Outer adversity means things can go wrong also. So, if we are driving a car, and say we are talking with the person sitting next to us, and suddenly we start looking ahead, we start looking at that person. And then that's a distraction. That's inner anartha. But that distraction can lead to an outer anartha. That is destruction. There can be car crash. So things are of value, but when that which is of value is made of the supreme value, that leads to problems. So when we talk about imbalance, how does imbalance occur? In general, imbalance occurs when something which is of artha, imbalance means that either we overvalue it, which can be an anartha, or we devalue it, undervalue it. Either way, that leads to a problem. So, when there is harmony, we produce something of value. But something of value that we are producing, if we either overvalue it or we devalue it, that leads to a problem. So, for example, if somebody is having a job and they also have family. Now, the job is important, the family is important. Both have their place. Now, if somebody values their job so much that they neglect their family, then what happens is one artha is becoming too important, and they may succeed in their job, but their relationship may break down completely. But somebody says, okay, I have my family, I have to take care of family. I have a job, but I won't go for the job only. Then that will also not work. So generally in our life there are multiple arthas, and when there is imbalance, we sometimes overvalue one thing and devalue the other thing. So now Prabhupada translates intelligence. He says intelligence, buddhi means to see things in their proper perspective. That means to understand what are the big things in our life and what are the small things. What is of greater value and what is of lesser value. What is a bigger artha and what is a smaller artha. So now consider, say, if we get a heart attack and we go to a doctor. Now suppose we have the choice of going to two doctors. One doctor is a devotee who also knows Paramartha and is pursuing Paramartha. And the other doctor is not a devotee. Now which doctor will we go to? Sorry? Okay, devotee. How many of you say devotee?
They have equal competencies.
Yeah. So, which doctor will we go to? Whichever is competent, isn't it? So, it's like at that particular point, suppose the doctor says, okay, I guarantee you that when I will do heart surgery, I will chanting Hare Krishna. Okay, that's nice, but will you do the surgery properly? That I can't guarantee. Then we will say, I want to go back to Krishna, but not so soon. The idea is that there are different arthas that are of value. So, sometimes we can value only artha and sometimes we can value only paramartha. But according to time, place, circumstance, whatever we are belonging to, that is what we need to value at that time. If somebody is a doctor, what do we expect from the doctor? Medical treatment. Now, see, whenever we are playing any role, if we are belonging to a larger whole and we are playing a role within that whole, then what is our primary responsibility over there and what is something additional over there? If a doctor is also a devotee, that's good. But if you are going to a doctor, what we primarily expect is, the doctor should treat me properly, isn't it? So, if we only value Paramartha and neglect Artha, that's a problem. If you only value Artha, neglect Paramartha, that can also be a problem. Let me take some examples to illustrate this point. So the larger topic of balance, which we're talking about today, what we're saying is, it's important to understand that various things have Artha at different times. And we need to recognize what is the Artha over here, what is of value over here, and focus on that. Say, recently I think there was a Cricket World Cup and India lost in the finals. Isn't it? So, who was the captain at that time? Was it Kohli or Rohit Sharma, I think? Rohit Sharma was the captain. So, suppose now, let's assume that Rohit Sharma is a devotee. And he practices bhakti. And say India loses in the finals and there's a post-match press conference. And that press conference, say the interviewer asks, why did India lose this match? And Rohit Sharma says, win-loss is all temporary. So just chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Or imagine the Indian Prime Minister is a devotee. And in Pahalgam there is this brutal attack. And he asks, how did this happen? How did the security forces neglect this? And the Prime Minister says, actually, we are all eternal souls and death is going to come anyway. Whether we die this way or that way doesn't matter. We will say, you are supposed to be the Prime Minister of the country. You're not supposed to be a religious preacher. Isn't it? So, if whatever larger whole we are a part of, if say the Prime Minister of the country says something like this, or the Indian cricket team captain says something like that, you cannot actually imagine a greater anti-preaching that can be done. Isn't it? If people start thinking that because this person is a devotee, that's why this person is not paying attention to cricket, that's why this person is not paying attention to the national security, it'll lead to a disaster. So this is actually what happened to George Harrison. Have any of you heard of George Harrison? Okay, who was he? Beatles, yeah, very celebrated musician. He also had a lot of interest in Eastern spirituality. And then he heard the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, he met Srila Prabhupada. When he met Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada told him that at that time the conception of becoming a devotee was you leave everything, you leave a job and move to the temple. And Prabhupada told him, no, you don't have to do that. You have musical ability. He said, you use it in Krishna's service. Use it to, you write songs about Krishna, you write songs about God, you write songs about spiritual themes. And he started doing that. And then Madison Square Avenue is one of the biggest performing venues in the world. It's in America here. So he was doing a concert over there. And in the middle of the concert, he told everyone, chant Hare Krishna. And the entire audience started booing him. They started throwing bottles and eggs and tomatoes on top of him. And it was a complete PR nightmare. Now they're not expecting him to be a religious preacher. They're coming there for a musical performance. And all the media reviews, that time social media was not there, but still the media reviews, they said, oh, this George Harrison was such a great musical talent. And he has now joined this Hare Krishna cult. And the world has lost such a great talent because of that. And then he met Srila Prabhupada. So when he met Prabhupada, he told Prabhupada, you told me to write songs about Krishna. I've been doing that. But I feel for every one person I am bringing to Krishna, I feel as if I am driving 50 people away from Krishna. So what should I do? And Srila Prabhupada became very grave. And Prabhupada said that, use your intelligence to balance things. He explained the situation, what had happened. He says, balance things. And then after that, he started composing normal songs, the kind of songs, the musical genre that he had become celebrated in. And then in between, sometimes he would bring in a little bit of a devotional theme. So then people said, oh, George Harrison has come out of this Hare Krishna cult and the talent is now available once again. It's become manifest. And all the reviews became positive. So the point is that, see, if we belong to a larger whole, say if somebody is performing a musical concert and they are expecting people to give them something, therefore people are supposed to pay, then what people expect within that particular circle, that they need to give back. So now, if we can give something spiritual, that is additional. Our spiritual, whatever role we have, our role at that particular time becomes primary. And our spirituality in that position is an additional, it's a bonus. It's something which is important, but it is a bonus. Say, if we admit our child to a school, the devotees run a school. Say, oh, I want my child to learn bhakti also. It's a proper school. And entrust the child to that school. And okay, the child learns some songs, learns some musical instruments. But in the school, the teachers are not competent. And child doesn't learn English, doesn't learn maths, doesn't learn geography. Well, then we will say, should I really keep my child in this school, isn't it? A school should be primarily teaching what a school is meant to teach. And if spirituality can be taught, that's additional. That's wonderful, it can be done. But we cannot say, okay, if you're going to teach only spirituality, then don't say that it's a substitute for normal school. This is a spiritual school, have a separate material school. Right? Say, if somebody doesn't know how to cook, but they want to please Krishna, and they don't know how to cook, and there's a big program they're organizing at their home, and they cook for everyone. but they don't know how to cook. They cook very prayerfully. When the cooking is being done, kirtan is going on, they offer the food to Krishna. Now, Krishna will be pleased by their cooking. And only Krishna will be pleased. So, if in the world we are doing something, material competence is required in the world. So, the point I'm making over here is that ideally speaking, it's like there's artha and there is paramartha. So, if best is that there's both artha and paramartha. I'm talking here specifically when we are playing a particular role. Now, if a doctor is a spiritually minded person, doctor gives a proper medicine, treats the patient. Doctor also says that problems come not just because of some problems that treat not just at the level of the body, they also treat at the level of the mind. And you chant some mantras, do some spiritual, that'll help you to keep your health better. That's something additional, in an appropriate way, they can tell that. So, that is fine. But what is the artha is important. Even if somebody doesn't, when we are playing a particular role, if somebody does not do the paramartha, but does the artha, that is important. Ultimately the paramartha is important, but immediately the artha is important. Isn't it? Say, if parents say, we will teach our child to chant Hare Krishna. But we are so busy chanting Hare Krishna and teaching our child to chant Hare Krishna that we have no time to earn money. So we have no food. Our child is starving. If the child is starving, what will happen is, okay, as parents, you have to give spirituality, but you have to do what is primarily is taking care of a child. Isn't it? So artha is not unimportant. If we are playing a particular role, if we are belonging to a larger whole and we are playing a particular role in that larger whole, then it is important that we contribute the artha. And along with the artha, if we contribute the paramartha, that is wonderful. But if we neglect the material for the sake of the spiritual, then what Krishna says is, there is a loka sangraha. Loka sangraha is the maintenance of the world. Loka sangraha will not happen and there will be chaos in society. And no spirituality is possible. So, spirituality requires, paramartha has to be built on the foundation of artha. Paramartha cannot be just automatically attained. So, yes, there are exceptional situations when a person may reject artha for paramartha. But in general, for a functioning society, paramartha has to be built on artha. So right now, we are able to sit and have this contemplation, this session, because there is basic law and order in the society. If the police were neglecting their dharma, and if the police go on a strike, all kinds of professions can go on strike, but if police go on strike, all the criminals will strike. That will be a disaster, isn't it? So, that we are a part of the world, and when we are a part of the world, we depend on the world. And it is when that world's role is taken care of, that's when other things are possible. So, whichever larger whole we belong to, we need to belong harmoniously. That means we contribute to that whole. Now, if somebody may decide, okay, I don't want to be a part of a family, that's okay. Then they can become sannyasi. Then they don't take anything from a family, then they don't have to give anything to the family. But if somebody is belonging to a family and they say, I want to be a part of the family, but I won't do any family responsibilities. Somebody says, I want to have a job, but I don't want to do any work in that job. So that is adharma. If we are taking something, we need to be giving something back. Whichever larger whole we are a part of, we need to belong harmoniously. Because all these arthas are important. And ideally speaking, our bhakti will enable us to do our artha properly. Bhakti will give us calmness, bhakti will give us clarity, and then the artha will work out properly. So going back to this particular diagram, I'll just make one last point and then we'll have some question answers over here. That we're talking about the purpose. What is the purpose of life? In life, there is we talk about Paramartha as the ultimate purpose. But I'll make, I'll make one point which will take about 3 hours. No, not really. Just a few minutes. So basically, there are 3 truths. There is Prakriti, there is Sanskriti, and there is Vikruti. So what does the word Prakriti mean? Literally? Nature. Sanskriti means culture. And Vikruti means vulture. No, why vulture? We have nothing against vultures. But the idea is that vulture goes high up but looks down for corpses. So in that sense, it's seen in a negative sense. So now, this is an important point to understand. When we talk about how Krishna has a plan and Krishna, we are a part of Krishna's plan. All that is true. Now, Prakriti is nature. And nature functions, so Dharma works at multiple levels. In Prakriti, there is a simple rule. The rule is, might is right. It's often called as the law of the jungle. In Prakriti, if 2 dogs want the same mate, whichever the bigger dog will win. If 2 tigers are chasing after the same deer, whichever tiger is bigger will win. In nature, there is a simple rule. Might is right. So, what Darwin talked about, survival of the fittest, that is not Darwin's theory. That's just an observation of nature. So, survival of the fittest means whichever is better will survive. Now fitness need not just be in terms of physical power. That, say, if the police have a non-automatic gun and a terrorist has an automatic gun, the police may be virtuous. The police may be trying to protect citizens and the terrorists may be trying to kill citizens. Who will win? Terrorists will win. Because the material world functions on a simple principle. Might is right. Survival of the fittest. Whoever, हिंदी में क्या कहते हैं, जिसकी लाठी उसकी भैंस. This is a simple principle of life. See, Ravana was stronger than Sita. Ravana abducted Sita. Ravana was younger than Jatayu. Jatayu was virtuous. But Ravana was younger than Jatayu. Jatayu fought heroically. But he was older. He got exhausted. And he lost. Abhimanyu went for a virtuous cause. But he didn't know how to come out of Chakravyuh. The material world is a ruthless place. And whoever has the greater might wins. Now, this is survival of the fittest. This is nature. Survival of the fittest. Now, what is Sanskriti? Sanskriti rises above this. Sanskriti is not survival of the fittest. Sanskriti is sacrifice by the fittest. That what is culture? Culture is that, say, if we see somebody who is blind and they are trying to cross a road. If we were simply biological machines, you'll say you are blind, you get knocked down. You are unfit, better you die. But will any cultured person function like that? No. The idea is, yeah, you don't have eyes, I have eyes. So I will sacrifice some of my time to help you cross the road. So Sanskriti means sacrifice by the fittest. When the Twin Towers fell, the firefighters ran into the Twin Towers. They knew they might die. But they were fitter, they were trained, and they went in to save others. So in general, culture is not just about the kind of clothes we wear, the kind of food we eat, the terms in which we greet each other. All that is a part of it. But essential culture is what? It is sacrifice. That yes, if I have something better than you, then instead of using it to dominate you, I will use it to help you. I will use it to elevate you. So the idea is that at a basic level in nature, if somebody is if we are in the animal kingdom, say if sometimes there's a wild rampaging bulls are there, or there is this fight with matador, they fight with bulls. So if we are suddenly caught in the middle of a bullfight, and there's a rampaging bull that is coming, and tell the bull, hey, I'm a vegetarian, don't hurt me. Now, being a vegetarian is a good thing. But if you are in the bullfight, either you fight or you get out. Isn't it? Being a vegetarian is irrelevant over there. So, my point is that there is, in nature, the rule is that might is right. Whoever is fitter will win. But that is the rule of the animal kingdom. Humans can rise above it through culture. But when we say culture involves sacrifice by the fittest, that is true. But you have to be fit to sacrifice. Isn't it? If you are unfit, you cannot sacrifice, you cannot save others, you cannot save yourself also. So in the material world, see, in the Pandavas were weaker than the Kauravas. Then what happened? They were persecuted. The Pandavas were persecuted. And Yudhishthir was not as smart as Shakuni, especially specifically in terms of gambling. There's no comparison in terms of virtue. Yudhishthir was virtuous, no doubt. But if you're in a gambling match, if we are playing a gambling match, there is a belonging to that particular unit. Then we will give something, we'll get something. So if what we give is not good enough, if we're not good enough of playing, not good enough at playing, what we'll get is we'll lose. So the idea is that in the material world, if we are to function, we can build Sanskriti. Sanskriti is where those who are powerful, those who are talented, those who are wealthy, they sacrifice for others. But for that to happen, they have to have resources. So artha is required in this world for everything. Even if you want to practice spirituality. Now we can alone practice spirituality in the Himalayas. But if you want to share spirituality in the world, artha is required. And if artha is not there, it's not going to work. When I travel across America, nowadays, because of social media, there's a lot of awareness of what is happening in the world. So, there's a lot of Christian conversion going on in India. And many Indians feel agitated, so many Christians are converting. And yes, that is true, but it is a simple law over there. There's one friend of mine, is a Hindu friend, quite active Hindu. He did an experiment. He wrote letters, this was before email and everything became possible, but he did that, he wrote to 25 temples and 25 churches, saying, I am interested in your religion, can you tell me something? And he said among the 25 temples, no one responded to him. Among the 25 churches, all 25 churches responded to him. Within a week. He says 5 of those churches actually send him Bible free. 2 of the churches actually send representatives with the Bible at his home to give a Bible. So now, naturally, we can say, okay, you are practicing one Sanatana Dharma, why are you going to Christianity? If somebody doesn't know, if somebody is welcoming, if we reach out to people, people will take that path up, isn't it? So, in the world, when Prabhupada was asked towards the end of his life, how will Krishna consciousness spread? He said it is through organization and intelligence. He didn't say by how purely you chant Hare Krishna. That is important, of course. But in the world, we need, even when we have to pursue Paramartha, we need Artha to pursue Paramartha. So for devotees, whatever area we are in, like when youth students ask me, how can we, if students become devotees, they ask, how can I share bhakti with other co-students? I tell them that study well. If you study well and do well, it's not necessary that your friends will become devotees. But if you study poorly, if because of your bhakti, your academic performance goes down, then you can almost guarantee that other students will not become devotees. Or rather, the kind of students who will become devotees will be the kind of people who we not want as devotees. They are completely irresponsible, and for them, bhakti is simply an escape way. They are trying to run away from responsibility, and they will create trouble here also. isn't it? So the point is that when we need, whichever larger whole we are a part of, we need to belong to that. So might is right is a basic truth of life. Sanskriti is what? It is might plus virtue. Might plus strength. Sorry, might plus virtue. Might plus virtue means that in this case, might is what? Might is the artha. Virtue is the dharma. Now, vikruti is what? Vikruti is always might is right, but it is might plus vice. Vice means that this is it can be lust, it can be greed, it can be anger. So, vikruti is where might is used for selfish purposes. Might is used for harming others. That is vikruti. So, the head of state, if they use their power to just destroy anyone who even slightly opposes that person, that is tyranny, that is dictatorship, that is vikruti. But whether it is Sanskriti or whether it is Prakriti or whether it is Vikruti, the basic principle is that in the world, might is what matters. In the world, might is what is required. Without that, even Paramartha cannot succeed. So, what we need to do is that we need to pursue Artha in a way that we can pursue Paramartha. So, rather than seeing Artha and Paramartha as separate, we see that Artha is a means to Paramartha. Whichever larger whole we are a part of, we belong to that whole properly, and by belonging to that whole properly, we grow. Hanumanji is symbolized as having folded hands and also having a mace in between the folded hands. So the folded hands, those signify bhakti, and the mace signifies Shakti. So, like what I said, Artha and Paramartha, in general, as the best situation is where we have Shakti and we have Bhakti. So, Bhakti is we belong ultimately to Krishna. Shakti is the Artha that we are getting. It can be any kind of Artha. It can be physical strength, it can be financial strength, it can be political strength, it can be technological strength. Bhakti is the Paramartha. So Hanuman was able to serve Lord Ram because he had bhakti, but he also had Shakti. Now before he had that Shakti, he had that power, but he had forgotten that power. At that time, he could not do much. Now, if Hanuman had that memory of that power, when he saw from above, Ravan was taking Sita, and Sita was screaming help, Hanuman could have just jumped up from there and beaten Hanuman and beaten Ravan and taken Sita from there. But he didn't have that Shakti at that time. So Shakti and Bhakti both are required for us. So now if we consider this, so this is the concluding image. Now if we have only Shakti but not Bhakti, we can do some material good which will be temporary. Now of course, we can do some material good if we have Sanskriti. But if we have Shakti without Bhakti, then we may do some material bad also if there is Vikruti. Now if there is neither Shakti nor Bhakti, then what will happen is there is no good at all. Things will only become bad for us. Now if we have Bhakti but no Shakti, then there will be spiritual good for us, but materially it will not be good for us. We will not be able to do any good for ourselves or for anyone else. Now when there is Bhakti and Shakti both, then there is spiritual and material good for us. So if we consider Srila Prabhupada's life from 1922, when he was introduced to Krishna, to his Guru Maharaj, till almost 68, Srila Prabhupada did not really have any Shakti, in the sense that material power. He did not have wealth, he did not have followers, his books were not that widely distributed. So what happened? He had Bhakti, he was completely satisfied in Krishna. But his Bhakti did not really benefit the world much. But when he came back in 1968 from India to America, that's when the devotees, they thought they had lost Swamiji forever. And Swamiji came back, they felt Krishna has given us another chance, they became very energized. And from 68 to 77, what happened was there was a dramatic transformation in life. So that's when 108 temples were built. That's when millions of people came to know about Krishna. Thousands started practicing bhakti. Srila Prabhupada himself authored 70 books, or based on his work, 70 books were written. Then he traveled around the world 14 times. So great things happen at the material level. So the point is that we need Shakti, we need Bhakti, we need Artha, we need Paramartha. So whichever larger whole we are a part of, we need to learn to belong properly to that. And when that happens, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha. Yogeshwara Krishna, that is Paramartha. But Partha Dhanurdharaha. Arjuna is one who is holding the bow, is ready to fight. So when Paramartha and Artha come together, that is when there is transformation in the world. Krishna says that this is where the world will change for the better. Without it is only Paramartha, yes, our heart can change for the better. No doubt. When you say spiritual good means our heart will be wonderful. But if you want to change the world or even our corner of the world, then we need dharma, we need artha and we need paramartha. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. Broadly, I discussed three main points today in the concept of balancing material and spiritual life. The first point I talked about was this hierarchy of dharma, artha, kama, and ultimately moksha. We didn't talk so much about moksha today. So dharma leads to artha and artha leads to kama. My focus was more on dharma and artha today. So dharma is what? Harmonious belonging. That whichever larger unit we are a part of, we need to belong harmoniously to that larger whole. And by that what will happen is that we offer something to that whole and that whole offers something to that. And by this exchange, artha means something of value is created. And with that creation of value, then we can have some joy, we can have some pleasure, we can have some satisfaction. So with this basic understanding of dharma, we give many examples of how it works. And then we talked about the concept of artha. So artha means that when we belong to a particular whole, see, we may belong to a family, we may belong to a community, we may belong to a country, we may belong to a human species, like that we belong to various wholes and ultimately we belong to the largest whole, that is God, Krishna. So whichever whole we are a part of, we need to contribute to that whole. And we discussed that only artha will mean that what is happening is it's a fragmented vision. We are only taking care of material things, but that will be temporary. Only paramartha, that means what will happen is at a material level there won't be any benefits. So what we do is, it is artha for paramartha. And it is that whatever it is that we are seeking in life, we seek it so that we can serve Krishna. And then we talked about dharmasya glani, that whatever role we are playing, in that role we contribute the role, and then our spirituality is a bonus over there. Our spirituality cannot replace the role that we are playing. A doctor cannot say, I'll chant Hare Krishna, but I'll not do the surgery properly. So we may give many examples of this. So the idea was that in the material world, there is Prakriti, which is the basic rule, that whoever has strength, that person will win. Now from Prakriti, we can rise to Sanskriti, where we have not just might, but might plus virtue. So, but that requires effort. Otherwise, it will go down to Vikruti. Vikruti is where there's might plus vice. So, the idea is that in this case, might is artha. So, for a person to be effective in the world, we cannot neglect the rule of the world. The rule of the world is basically might is right. So, whatever area we are in, if we acquire the appropriate might, then we will have an influence. Now, what we use that influence for, that is up to us. And that's why we discussed the concept of Hanuman's example, that there is Shakti and there is Bhakti. So now how much Shakti should we acquire so that we can have Bhakti? No, the two are separate. But if you want to have an impact on the world, we have to change things around us. It is only when we have Shakti and Bhakti then we can do good both at a spiritual level and at a material level. Now we can do good at a spiritual level if we have Bhakti, but we won't be able to do much good at the material level. Sometimes harm might also result. Now when Shakti is there, we will have a material effect. Now will that effect be good or bad? That depends. If there is Sanskriti, it will be good. If there is Vikriti, it will be bad. It will be if there is neither Shakti nor Bhakti, then there is no good at all. So for us as devotees, we have been given some gifts by Krishna. We have some abilities. We have some roles. So in those roles, we do what is required. We do our dharma. We produce artha and we use that artha for paramartha. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions or comments? Any question? Yes, please.
I think you clarified it in today's lecture, Prabhuji, but I still want to ask. Is it okay? I mean, to what degree can we classify or judge the problems that come in our life to seek solution?
Okay, which means which category they fall in? Are they inevitable, avoidable,
yes,
strengthening?
Yes.
Yes. It's not watertight, this categorization. So if we fall sick, now sometimes you might be able to find, I ate that food because of this I fall sick. Then I learned from it and I decided this is avoidable. I'll try to avoid that food, then this will not happen. Okay. But sometimes it just happens things beyond our control. Sometimes we understand this is just a part of life. That our body is vulnerable and there's nothing we can do about it. So I think as far as possible we use our intelligence. But the point is not so much to categorize. The point is to approach in a constructive way. So, okay, I'll give you an example. I was staying at one devotee's home in UK, and this was a young man who was introduced to our youth outreach in India, and I knew him from there. So he invited me to come to his place. So he told me when I was driving for a program, he says, tomorrow is my wife's wedding anniversary. I said, I said, what do you mean? Your ex-wife? So what are you talking about? He says, no, it's... So he said, if it's your wife's, it's also your wedding anniversary, isn't it? He says, I don't believe in these things. These are all sentimental. That itself, I felt something is off over here. Then afterwards, he was telling me, when I entered into Grahastha ashram, I was hoping that with my wife and I will all practice bhakti and will serve Krishna. But my wife doesn't cooperate at all. She is very uncooperative. She is quite disagreeable. I have got a realization that Krishna gave me a disagreeable wife so that I'll become detached from material life. And I said, wait a minute. Don't jump to that conclusion. Then when I was at their home, his wife was also there, so she was talking. And then we started talking. She's a very intelligent lady. She's also working in a company and very open to bhakti, at least from what I could make out. But then she started talking about how there are certain basic things which a wife expects from a husband to do. And he was not doing that at all. Yeah, and he was saying, all this is mundane, you just practice bhakti. And she was very upset by that. So I told him that what you are saying could be true, but don't jump to that conclusion. That generally in Sankhya, in Nyaya, the logic is whenever there is a problem, we should always move from the drushta cause, the drushta karana, then to the adrushta karana. What is the drushta karana? Visible cause. First look at the visible cause. And if the visible cause cannot be addressed, or there is no visible cause you can figure out, then we can say there is some invisible cause over here. So if say in a husband-wife, that's a unit. If you are not doing your dharma, and then the problems are coming because of that, then we cannot say that this is Krishna's plan for me. No, it is our own misplanning or our own misprioritizing that is causing the problem. Say if this were a battery operated mic, and or say I'm using this laptop now, and say before this I forgot to charge the laptop, and the laptop gets discharged and I cannot project it. Now can I say it is Krishna's plan that I don't use this? No, it is now what is it? If I can see the cause of a problem, I need to address it at that level. But sometimes we just cannot figure out any cause. That time we can move towards remote causes. Oh, this is an inevitable part of life. Maybe it is because of past karma, maybe it is Krishna's plan. All those things come later. So start with the drushta. And when the drushta cannot be addressed, when there is no cause that is visible, then we can move toward the invisible cause. When Ram is talking with Lakshman, Lakshman is very indignant, and Lakshman says that, how could Kaikeyi have done like this to you? You have never done anything to her. You have always been kind to her. So at that time Lord Ram says that, actually that's why. Kaikeyi's love was just like the flow of the Ganga. She will always love and care for me. So Lakshman is still very angry. He says, that's what I can't understand. How did the Ganga dry up in one night? And then Lord Ram says, that's why. When I saw this inexplicable change in her disposition, I understood this must be destiny. And that is where, in general, when with our intelligence, with our analysis, we can't figure out something, then we can go to invisible factors. Not immediately. Thank you. Yes, please. Do you have a mic? Or you can come ahead. Achha. Sorry?
How do we build a strong might in order to influence in 3 steps?
Can you hear the question?
How do we build a strong might in order to influence in 3 steps?
How do we build strong might so that
we can build influence in 3 steps?
How do we build a strong life?
Which are 3 steps?
No, like the 3 steps we should take in order to build a strong might. Might. M-I-G-H-T.
Oh, okay.
Can you rephrase that?
Okay, you're saying 3 steps by which we can build our mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't refer to any 3 steps. You were just asking for 3 steps specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You are asking her answer in 3 steps. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. I thought I referred to something 3 steps. In general, basically Krishna talks about this in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. In 18.14, he says, how does an action lead to a desired result? So, he says that there is the element of destiny. If you consider this to be like a bridge with 5 planks in it. So, one plank is ultimately destiny. That things won't happen if they're not destiny. Then there is one plank is the soul. The person has to be alive. But beyond that, these 3 factors are involved. That is talent, environment, and commitment. So adhishtanam tatha karta karanam cha prathak vida vivida cha prathak cheshta. So if we want to build some strength, if we want to have some Shakti in our life, we have to first see what is the talent that I have. Arjuna did not try to become a mace fighter like Bhima. Arjuna saw that the talent that he had was archery. So look within to see what talent we have. That's the first step. Then we look at what environment will help us to develop that talent. So Arjuna was good at archery, but when he came to the Drona's Gurukul, that's where he flourished. Now, Arjuna learned from Drona, Karna learned from Parshuram, who was actually Drona's guru. Both of them learned. But Arjuna had a greater commitment. While Arjuna was in exile, Arjuna performed further austerities and gained celestial weapons. Now Karna was, in one sense, he fought some wars and he used his might to increase Duryodhana's prestige and power. But he did not do any austerity to get further weapons. So eventually Arjuna won. So basically, talent, environment, commitment. Whatever Shakti we have to see what is the gift that I have, where can I get the training and the supportive environment by which that gift can be utilized, and am I putting in sufficient effort to actually tap that. So when we do these three things, then our Shakti will increase. So if we have a seed, the seed requires the proper environment. But along with the proper environment, we need to garden, we need to provide water for adequate amount of time till the fruit will come. If there is if you want to dig for gold, then the talent in this case would be the tools. We cannot just dig with our nails. We need spades, we need drills, whatever. That's the appropriate tool, that's the talent. The environment is, does the land actually have gold over there? Does it actually have oil over there? Whatever that we are trying to dig. And then commitment is, have we dug deep enough? So generally, Shakti is acquired through these three things: talent, environment, commitment. So we need to have the right talent, or we need to notice or appreciate what talent we have. We need to place ourselves in the right environment. And then even in the right environment, we need to sufficiently persevere. And if after doing all these three things, still we do not get result, then we can say maybe it is destiny and this is not meant to happen. And we accept it at that time. Okay?
Thank you for that answer. I also have another question. Do we have time for that, or is it too
Can we
late?
come back to you if you don't mind?
All
We'll
right.
come back to you if you don't mind.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yes, bro.
You have defined Anatta as when Artha becomes sole purpose of life, then it becomes Anatta. So you have given one example, suppose when you want to control something, but it goes out of control. Then at that moment we become anger. But the thing is, the person, he might value more something else, right? In that moment also. But how you can define that? He might value something more than...
Yeah, that's why, see, our sense of value, in one sense, there is always a tension in human life. There's always a tension between what we want now and what we want in the long run. What we want now, what we want in the long run. So for example, if you are arguing with a family member, arguing with a close friend or somebody close to our heart. Now, in the moment, we may want to prove that I am right. We may want that other person to listen to us. But in the long run, we want a good relationship. And good relationship sometimes requires having hard conversations, understanding differences, and appreciating differences and finding a way through those differences. So what happens is, anartha means that what I value right now becomes so important that everything else becomes unimportant. So, if a person truly values that only, all the time, then that's a problem. See, then it's like Ravan, his attempting to abduct Sita was not just an impulsive act. He was just wandering along and he saw Sita alone, vulnerable, defenseless, and he got a desire to force himself on her. No, it is a cold-blooded plan by which he separated Sita from her protectors, then abducted her. And then, despite getting many warnings, still he held on to Sita. That's how he was destroyed. So that means, so what we want now, you could say that is our mind's function. What we want in the long run, that is our intelligence function. So now, based on this, we could have our mind can be positive or our mind can be negative. That means our mind wants good things or our mind wants bad things. Our intelligence can want positive things, our intelligence can want negative things. So now, this is the best situation to Maya Arpita Mano Buddhe, Krishna says. Our mind wants Krishna, our intelligence also wants Krishna. That is the best thing. Now, if both our mind and intelligence are negative, so in this case, in these two quadrants, here there is no conflict. And here also there is no conflict. Because the mind and intelligence are in agreement. But here a person is going up, here a person is going down. That means the intelligence is also sold out to whatever the mind is saying. Now, in these two areas, there is conflict. Now, this is a very, mind wants positive, intelligence wants negative. This is extremely rare to happen. What happens more often is, this is what is common. That our mind wants something, our intelligence understands this is not good for me, but still we crave for it. So what we need to do is, ultimately, at the very least, what happens is with our swadhyaya, with our study of scripture, so it's like with, you could say, with it is as a discipline, we try to keep ourselves over here in various ways. And once we have purity, we will be over here. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I understand. Just I want to add. So you meant to add what the mind wants at that instant. Then it's not that what the person actually wants even in that instant. What the mind wants. It's just the person forgets what he.
Yeah. So we over-identify with the mind so much that we go along with it.
Yeah.
See, when what the mind wants, when we listen to it and we act accordingly. Ultimately, how do we know a person? Like, once there was a conflict between two people, and I was trying to mediator. So I was saying this other person was very upset. Not the other person not there at that time. One person saying, actually, deep down he's a very good person. So he was telling, that goodness is so deep down that I never seen it only. What I have seen is on the surface, and that is terrible. I cannot bear it anymore. So now that may be true sometimes, isn't it? So ultimately, we know people by their behavior, isn't it? So that's why when you say it's the mind, but if we are giving in to the mind, then it's a problem. And that's what defines us. Okay? Thank you.
Hare Krishna Guruji, thank you for the nice class. So we discussed about Artha and Paramartha. So how is Paramartha connected with Moksha? Are they same or does one lead to other?
Yes. So it's a good question. I didn't have time to discuss that today, but I'll mention two quick points over here. That we all belong to certain larger wholes. Now that belonging is important while it is there, but eventually it is temporary. And now, is there a belonging that will last forever? When we belong there, then we become free from all other belongings, and then there is the state of liberation. So you could say Paramartha is the supreme value. And when we value Paramartha, then when we value Paramartha fully, that's when we get moksha. Now moksha can be conceived differently by different people. Some people may think it's merging into Brahman. The scriptural understanding as per the Vaishnavas is that it's loving union with Krishna. But it is basically, we go beyond valuing the arthas of this world and we value the Paramartha the highest. When we value Paramartha the highest, Krishna says, Antakalecha mam eva smaran muktva kalivaram. If you remember me, that means I become the Paramartha for you. Not just nominally, but actually in terms of the heart being focused on Krishna, then we will attain Him. Okay? Thank you. The last question before we stop? Okay, you had another question you mentioned.
We can do one-on-one. I think everyone's itching to eat the side of it.
Sure. Good observation. So, thank you all very much for your thoughtful participation. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Gaur
Jai Shri
Primanandi.
Prabhu ki, Jai Shri Prabhupada ji ki. much. So, Prabhuji, yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. I've heard so many times Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, but this was the first time, yesterday and today, I could realize that there's so much depth actually within this concept. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. And we have many new people here. Would you like to very quickly let us know about these two books?
Their book is also. So, okay, thank you. So this is Prayers Inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. I spoke briefly from this book. There is each verse of the Gita, the poetic rendition, then there's a spiritual affirmation, like a one-line sentence which we can have, and there's a picture of Krishna. And so basically, how can we gain spiritual strength? By approaching the Gita's verses in the mood of prayer. There is a table of contents with almost 122 prayers. So this is very accessible, and whatever be your particular prayer need at that time, or emotional need, if you're feeling lonely, disconnected, if you're spiritually dry and lost spiritually, or if you're feeling misunderstood by others, you're feeling directionless in our life, there are prayers for all occasions. If you are feeling an anartha is rising, we are feeling some cravings becoming strong. It's also a useful aid to start our daily mantra chanting. Just read something and calm and center our mind. This is Gita for the CEO. So many of the points today I talked about, especially about Artha and Paramartha, those are explained in this book. This is not just for CEO, it's anyone who has any leadership role in their life, formal or informal. Ultimately, each one of us is meant to be a CEO of our own life. So nowadays there's a lot of interest in the corporate world for learning life lessons and leadership lessons from traditional sources of wisdom. Stoicism is popular, Ikigai from Japan is popular to some extent. So HarperCollins, one of the biggest publishers in the world, they wanted me to present the Bhagavad Gita in this way. So I presented the Gita as a conversation between two people. It's a very light read and practical application, like how can we be more resilient, how can we be more mindful, how can we keep small things small, and how can we lead a team effectively, how can we make decisions wisely. All those points are described through diagrams and images like I was talked over here in the book. So if any of you would like to have this, most welcome. I'll be here for some time to sign the books as well as to answer some questions. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So very quickly, so I will put the box of the book here. You can take book, and if you don't want, if you see books here and there, please keep in the box. I just need to make sure that count matches here, okay? And yeah, we can have prasadam. And we have last session of this series today evening. And probably we'll continue this topic, Prabhuji, or?
Yeah, so today evening we'll have, I talked about purpose today. Purpose is Artha, through Artha to Paramartha. Now the process is, I'll be talking about, if one particular role requires a lot of time, say, how do we manage that? So when do we decide that these two things can be balanced and these two just cannot be balanced? So I have to make a choice. So basically, the process of balancing. Now, how do we prioritize one thing and not completely neglect on other things? So the process of balancing is what I'll discuss in the evening session today. And we'll also have some time for question answers in case if you have any further questions also. Thank you.
So once again, a big thank you to His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu for a wonderful class today. And also we'd like to thank our hosts today, Umesh Prabhu and Smita Papadkar. So please give them a big round of applause as well. And so we already mentioned what we have this evening. The program is at Pooja and Praveen Sahu's home, so please join us. And if you're not RSVP, then please send an RSVP so that they can make prasadam arrangements accordingly. And this evening the program starts at 6:30. So please, because there's still some discussion left from today, and then we had a different topic for the end was it purpose, right? No, sorry, process. So I don't know how much we'll be able to cover for the process. We discussed most of the purpose now, and then a little bit of process is left from the discussion. So try and come on time so we can start on time, and we can have some more time for discussion. As we noticed, Partha could not his second question. So, but once again, thank you all of you coming to this program. Without you, we cannot have the program. So, thank you once again, and thank you to Ishwara Gauranga Prabhu and Shriji Priya Mataji for hosting Prabhu at their house. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. We'll see you all this evening.
Dear devotees, today evening program will start right on time, so maybe 6:30 to 6:45 because we have flight tonight. So after the program, probably has to be to the airport. So we'll start on time and we'll try to finish by 8:30 or next 8:30, then 9 will be late. We have to be right.
बजायते शरीर विद्याजाल जोड़ेन्द्रियता है काल जीव फेले विषय सागरे तार मध्य जीवाती लोभमोय सुदुर्मति ताके जेता कठिन संसारे कृष्ण बड़ो दयामय करीवारे जीव जय स्वप्रसाद नदी लो भाई सैयन्नामृत पाओ राधा कृष्ण गुण गाओ प्रेम डाको श्री चैतन्यताय जय निमाय जय निताय जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री श्री भगवत महाप्रसाद की जय।